Okay, so my 2-year-old wakes 1 to 3 times a night every night. How can we get him to sleep through? So, the common things we want to look at when you have a child of any age who's waking often overnight or too often overnight, and all of this would apply at age 2, is I'd say number one is bedtime falling too late on the clock. As counterintuitive as it may seem to us, the later it gets, typically, the harder bedtime might be, and the greater likelihood your child's going to struggle to sleep soundly throughout the night. So, creeping things earlier in some cases can help. A similar issue, but different, is whether the span, what we would call the wakeful window, from the time when nap ends to the time when your child falls asleep for bedtime is too big. So you could have a bedtime that's ideal on the clock, but the span from end of nap to bedtime is just long enough that we're going to run into the same issues. Bedtime may or may not be a struggle, and or the overnight sleep may not be sound. So give some thought to those two things. It's hard to speak in generalities, but if I just had to pick numbers out of the air without knowing your child or any of the details, I would say if bedtime is falling later or much later than 7:30, you're prone to run into a bit more issues. And or if your child stays awake for more than about 5 hours, depending whether a younger two or older two, but more than about 5 hours from the end of nap to bedtime. Now, again, those are blanket statements, but if you said to me, well, my child's up for 7 hours from the end of nap, or my child goes to bed at 9:30, those are both a good bit past what I would like to see. And that could be at the root of the issue. So far we have bedtime too late on the clock, wakeful window too long from the end of nap. Another really common cause, though, let's say you have all of that in place, or you get all of that in place and you're still dealing with a night waking habit, then again, as I've been saying throughout the day, I would compare the scenario that your child falls asleep in to the one that they pop awake in throughout the night. The reality is we all wake up throughout the night. So when we think about a child who's sleeping through the night versus your child, neither of them really are. We all hit what are called partial arousals between our sleep cycles. We wake up a little bit and we just want to kind of check our surroundings and make sure nothing's missing, nothing's wrong, nothing's alarming, nothing needs to be addressed. If I fall asleep with my pillow and I wake up 2 hours later and my pillow's on the floor, it's pretty unlikely that I'd go, oh, well, I guess there's nothing I can do about it. More than likely, I would notice, I would grab it, I would get comfortable again, and then I'd be willing to go back to sleep or able to go back to sleep. So if, for example, you're sitting with your child, you're rubbing their back, they're falling asleep while you're reading stories or whatever it might be, all those things are fine, but it does increase the likelihood that they may notice that you aren't doing those things anymore when they wake up and not really be either able or willing to get back to sleep without you repeating the pattern. So think about, are they awake when you leave the room? Are they drowsy when you leave the room? Or are they fully asleep? And ultimately your goal, if you want to fix the night waking habit and timing is not enough, would be to say, hey, we need to reach a point where we can wean off some of these things that they're relying on at bedtime so that they aren't needing to rely on them again in the middle of the night. So as I've said before today, it's really hard to fix a night waking habit in the moment. During the night waking, we kind of have to look at everything that happens up to bedtime. The cliche phrase is a good night's sleep starts in the morning. So if the day has gone astray and bedtime has gone astray, we're probably going to have a night waking problem, and the solution probably lies in doing things differently the next day leading up to bedtime. So I would give that some thought, and hopefully that helps.